In our first story, former Trade Minister Alan Kojo Tremanting launches his campaign visit of the Ashanti region today, August 7. He will be in the MPP stronghold weeks after Vice President Dr. Bawumia's tour in the area. Now, political science professor Smart Sapon has been considering the format of his campaign.
I would say he is an Ashanti. He is, I think, partly an Ashanti and from the central region, somewhere in Elmina. So he's more of coming home. And if you start from the Asante Achim areas, you enter Ashanti region down to Ejeso, you see posters depicting his welcome to his home region, as many call it. So from tomorrow through to, I think, Saturday, the area is expected to be very busy, welcoming him back home, as they call it. Yes, he is coming there after his main contender has been there. I'm very sure his monitoring teams have monitored and given him report on place-by-place comments that were made by the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. As expected, I'm sure he will take this opportunity to somehow state his position on some of the comments by the Vice President, which many thought was in reference to him. You remember the famous, when we needed somebody to stand in the witness box, many people were not around, some ran away out of town and all those things. I'm sure it will be a very good time to address these things at the same place where such comments were made, and many other things that are left unaddressed to the delegates. His first rounds, he met, I think, key people. He was doing consultation. This is the time he's going to meet the delegates themselves. So I think a lot is expected of him, and he's expected to address some of the things, seeking to counter those that were made by the Vice President when he visited the region some weeks ago. So he has a lot of work to do and a lot of rebuttals to give. All I'm hoping is that in doing so, he will do so in moderation so that there will be calmness or clean campaign as people have been.
Now on to one of our headline stories. And a UN senior mediation advisor and a former deputy foreign minister in the Mahama administration, Emmanuel Bombandi, has advised against military intervention in Niger as ECOWAS deadline for ruling military junta to return power to ousted elected president ended yesterday.
First observation is that West Africa is facing an unprecedented crisis, never before seen in the region, before the formation of ECOWAS or after the formation of ECOWAS. Now, in these times, the challenge has been that ECOWAS is trying to deploy all the tools available to it to be able to hold firmly the line that is defined by our own protocols, the 1999 Protocol on Peace and Security, and subsequently in 2001, the Supplementary Protocol on Democracy and Good Governance. What you see happening that you are calling an inflection of a wound on itself, which in part is correct, is related to the lack of the political will for the type of reforms that would have updated these tools for deployment by ECOWAS. So we are using old tools to respond to unprecedented crises that we've never witnessed before. And that's the reason why it's not about inflicting a wound on ourselves in the context of Niger, but in a broader context in which the capacity to appreciate what has loomed large since 2012 as an evolving crisis in the Sahel that then reached unprecedented levels in terms of violence in 2022 has now become manifest. And if you look at it in terms of the quick data, political violence in Burkina Faso increased by 77% in 2022, and in Mali by 150% in 2021. This is the magnitude of the crisis, but we have not been able to develop a collective response mechanism, though there have been promises and pledges through the Accra Initiative for West Africa to be on the ground in solidarity with the Sahelian countries. This has not been done. bad governance in terms of the crisis of governance continues to be pervasive. Terrorism has spread wide. Then you add the impact of climate change. And these multiple crises have aligned themselves to reinforce one another, in which we find ourselves in Niger without the adequate response tools, because we are using old tools to respond to an overwhelming new and emerging.
Now, the 10,000-kilometer road trip that the Wanderlust Ghana group of travel and adventure enthusiasts took from Accra to London is now complete. After days of traveling and visiting different countries, the party landed in London on Sunday, August 6th, to an enthusiastic welcome. A team member, Kwame Pepra, has been discussing the journey thus far.
We are all very, very elated. We are excited to have completed it in one piece. Fortunately and thankfully, there were no accidents, there were no mishaps, no cars broke down, nobody fell sick, nobody was kidnapped. Basically, it was a successful trip. Contributions have started trickling in, and we hope that in the coming days, as we drive around some parts of the UK to create more awareness, the contributions would increase, but they have started coming in, and people are asking for access to make those donations. So it's looking like it's going to be a great success. I mean, people are calling from as far as Australia and the United States, hearing about this, and they are very excited. We love our women in Ghana, and having a female amongst us was very exciting. She kind of balanced the group, and being an active biker and a motoring enthusiast, it was exciting to have women do what, may I say, traditionally men would rather say is their sport. So it was very welcome to have a woman on board, and she's called the Shekanek.
Now, Member of Parliament for North Tongue Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa and the Mankralo of Mepe traditional area, Tobe Kosi Nego, have called for a zero tolerance for galamsey in the Volta region, addressing the 2023 Afenoto Festival at Mefe in the North Tongue district. They urge the inhabitants of the region to unite against all forms of distractions to the environment.
Reports of galamsey activities in the Black Volta and the Bui Dam enclave shocked many well-meaning Ghanaians. Already reports indicated that the water resources in the Black Volta is showing signs of visible severe pollution and the chemical impact on the aquatic life. Addressing the 2023 Apenoto Festival, the Manklalo of Mepe traditional area, Togbe Kosi Nego, regretted the situation and wants the government to outlaw the practice and to further declare a state of emergency over any form of mining in the area.
We all know how galamsey activities have destroyed our forests, lands, and water bodies along the Bra, Obey, Angobra, and other rivers. We look at one day to see that there are the same machines floating on the Black Volta. It's of great concern to us. I also want to call on government to do all they can to manage these galamsey activities on the Black Volta.
North Tongue Member of Parliament Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa urged the people of the Volta region to uphold a policy of zero tolerance towards galamsey in the region.
We shouldn't wait for all the MPs to come together. We are all here as a community. Let us declare no galamsey in the Volta. We have the power to do that. And let us pledge as a community that if we see anybody attempting to do any galamsey in any portion of the Volta, we ourselves are going to drive the people out. We have the power to do that. The Constitution of Ghana empowers citizens. So we are not going to be like other parts of Ghana where they are waiting for people in authority. We have the authority, we have the power. So Volta River, no-go area for galamsey. The Black Volta may have started, but that's where it will end. And we'll even go there and chase them out. because we know the consequences.
The traditional Mepe Apenoto is observed every year to restore the public sense of unity, chance for reunions, and bondage with relatives and the ancestors. The festival has over the years supported self-help initiatives, including the provision of clean water and a scholarship for underprivileged children. This year's event, under the theme Together in Peace for Development, targets the completion of a technical and vocational education project. Togbe Kosinego appealed to the government for support for the project.
On to some more stories now. And in a world where technology often takes center stage, a young prodigy, Bright Etonam Nyakpo, is capturing hearts and minds with an extraordinary feat of engineering. The 70-year-old senior high school student has not only defied expectations, but has also crafted a fully functional automobile from scratch. Emmanuel Samani has more.
My name is Bright Nyapo Etonam Kwesi, and I attend school at Isansi Bonte for Senior High. So I'll say this is a talent from God. I didn't sit down and think about anything. I was there and something came to my mind to build this thing. Then I was in class 3. I don't have money, so I started saving, and by God's grace, I got some money and I started in Form 2. I used 9 months in building this. I sent it to a welder. Then I asked him that this is what I want to do, but I need hands in doing it. I don't know how to weld. So he started teaching me how to weld. I started doing this. And I went to the scrap. I went there and I showed them the picture that I'm doing this. I want an engine for it. So they sell this engine for me, 300 cedis. If I'm fixing it, and especially with the wiring, then I have some difficulties. I go to Peter and ask him that I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It's not working the way I want it to work. And he will show me that do this, do that, it will work. I'll come and do it and it will work.
I told him to stop and focus on his studies. Next thing I realized was he moved the vehicle from home, so I thought he had discarded it. When he goes to school, he doesn't come home early. When you ask him, he says he went for extra classes, not knowing he was working on the vehicle. Until one day he brought the car home. I was so surprised. When you give him money for food, he goes to buy spare parts. He will grow so lean, and it's used to disturb me a lot.
It's quite remarkable, the invention and talent that Bright has to put this automobile together. He calls it the Brian Ammo, and undoubtedly the talent is there for someone who pretty much has no theoretical knowledge in mechanical engineering. For him to be able to put this together in 9 months, the onus is on us to help nurture and, help grow these talents. So it remains to be seen, really, what the future holds for Bright and his inventions. Emmanuel Samani, TV3 News, Accra.
Interesting one there by Emmanuel Samani. But moving on, insufficient staffing and a lack of resources have been linked to the ongoing environmental and sanitary problems in the Volta region. Now, according to the Volta Regional Environmental Health Officer, Stella Kumedro, none of the 18 districts and municipalities in the region are equipped with vehicles or motorcycles.
Environmental cleanliness has evolved into one of the most important and potent forces driving economic growth. To solve numerous environmental health and sanitation issues and safeguard people's health, the role of environmental health practitioners is essential. But it is difficult for environmental health practitioners in the Volta region to carry out their duties efficiently. The difficulties include lack of logistics, poor compensation, and low staff strength. Stella Kumojiro is Volta Regional Environmental Officer.
For an environmental health health officer to be able to reach those 9 communities and work effectively, we need mobility. We are not asking for too much. A motorbike will do to get to those communities. As I presented, we bury dead bodies that do not have traces to the families. That is proper. You saw some that were decomposed, that were in the river for days, but it is our mandate to carry out those activities, and we do it. Experience has proven that with resources we can do more.
Director of Water and Sanitation Health Solutions, Stephen Into, emphasized the need for resources from environmental health practitioners towards the accomplishment of Sustainable Development Goal 6.
They can't work with their bare hands. They can't walk to the communities. They need transport. They need fuel. They need stationery. And they need their backing. Words of encouragement. And they should employ as many, because the few who are in the field cannot cope with the stress of the work.
The purpose of the 2-day regional conference was to comprehensively identify the challenges faced by the environmental health practitioners and seek support from stakeholders in addressing them.
Now, the Upper West Regional Forestry Commission is taking steps and activities poaching of wildlife in the Bele Resource Reserve. Now, the destruction of farms by games coupled with poaching and the cutting down of trees has resulted in conflict between forest guards and fringe communities.
The Protected Area Management Advisory Committee consists of 13 individuals from the Fiama Busi Isa district. They will collaborate with the Wildlife Division of the Ministry of Lands and Forestry to advise park management on fostering community collaboration to protect the reserve. The committee aims to prevent wildlife conflict and zoonosis transmission, as fringe communities are at the center of wildlife-human conflict. Dr. Polycarp Mabier is park manager at the Bele Resource Reserve.
These communities will be empowered to manage their natural resources through the issuance of certificate of devolution by the government and provisions of additional livelihoods.
Chairman of the 13-member committee, Kuro Simiala Tambogi Kwon II, called on committee members to join their expertise to preserve the environment.
As we assume this responsibility, our vision must be clear and our determination unwavering. In our pursuit of this noble cause, I call on each member of this committee to unite our expertise, our passions, and diverse perspectives. We are the guardians of not only the land, but also the hopes and dreams of countless species and communities who rely on the natural resources for their very existence.
District Chief Executive of the area, Nadi Morosanda, expressed worry over the rate of destruction of the environment.
The only forest we have is depleting very fast. The game and wildlife there, people are killing them so fast. We are not applying fertilizer on our farms. Today, whatever you do, if you don't apply fertilizer on your land, you are not going to achieve anything.
A similar committee was earlier inaugurated in Tumu in the Sisala East municipality a few months ago.
Now let's do some international news now. The U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Molifi, has called for an end to attacks against opposition party leaders and supporters ahead of the August 23 elections in Zimbabwe. She expressed concerns that incidents over recent months have suggested that a free and fair election is in doubt. Molifi noted that the best path for peace and prosperity is through a democratic system that respects all communities, regardless of ethnicity, religion, and allows everyone to participate freely in defining the future of their country. Human Rights Watch, in a report released during the week, said Zimbabwean authorities have failed to take necessary steps to ensure that the general election will meet international standards for free and fair elections. ZANU-PF have been in power in Zimbabwe for 43 years since independence from white minority rule.